Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studio, it's time for the GNFCC 400 Insider. Connect, build, and grow with the Greater North Fulton Chamber of Commerce.
Hello and welcome to the GNFCC 400 Insider, the monthly radio show and podcast presented by the Greater North Fulton Chamber. I'm Kali Boatright, President and CEO of the Greater North Fulton Chamber, and today we will be reflecting on our very successful 2021 Chamber Year and discussing plans for becoming greater in 2022 with our current and incoming chairs. First, we have our 2021 Chairman, Lindsey Petrini, Vice President and Chief Operating Officer at Wellstar North Fulton Hospital. Welcome, Lindsey.
Thank you.
Also taking the helm from her in 2022 will be James Holmes. James is the Senior Vice President and North Fulton Market President at Truist. Welcome, James.
Thank you.
I'm so glad to have both of you with me. It's always interesting as the president of the chamber to get a new boss every year. And as I tell all of my chairmen, you're my favorite. So I am excited to sit down and talk a little bit with both of you today. We're going to start with a question for both of you, but Lindsey, ladies first. So if you'll just tell us a little bit about yourself and your background, maybe what led to what you do now, and certainly how you got involved with the Greater North Fulton Chamber.
So my background, I'm originally from Arkansas and moved out here about 15 years ago and started at North Fulton Hospital. I started out in the marketing department and worked my way up into operations. And just a little bit of why I remain in the hospital business is that I just really appreciate the mission of what is behind what you do. Even if you don't touch a patient every day, you certainly are impacting somebody's life, and that has always meant a lot to me. I'm married. My husband, John, and I have 3 children. So I have 2 stepchildren, one that turned 21 yesterday.
Oh, wow.
And then a 17-year-old who will be graduating from high school. And then my daughter is going to be 3 in March. So we definitely have a large spectrum across our household. I was involved in the chamber from the time I got here in Atlanta, came to be a part of the Greater North Fulton Chamber. And when I was in Arkansas, my hospital in Arkansas, I've been a part of the chamber. And my family, my father, my grandfather, they've all been involved in chambers. So it just seemed like a natural place to get involved.
Well, you certainly got involved as chairman of the board this year. And we were just reminiscing about the fact that your 3-year-old, when she was like 2 months old, was on this podcast with us and stayed silent the whole time, which was amazing. So obviously she was already part of the chamber even at that point.
She would not be so quiet now.
No, I understand that as well. All right, James, no pressure. How about you?
Well, grew up in Indianapolis, Indiana. I've been living in the metro Atlanta area since 93. Been in banking for about 26 years. Got involved in banking really because came from some humble beginnings. And one of the things I always used to see when someone passed away or an issue happened, we always had to scramble. Family members had to scramble to put money together. So I always wanted to know, how do I get ourselves in a better position from a financial standpoint, educate others of things you need to do, whether it's insurance, et cetera, to make sure you're not in that position where you're passing the hat around. And I know there's a lot of people out there that have dealt with that. So that motivated me to get into banking. As far as the chamber, one of the things is we realize in banking that also your community is the sum of businesses, individuals, government, and that makes a community. And so when the community succeeds, we succeed. So one of the things we've always done has been involved in sponsors and chambers, but I believe in time, talent, and treasure, and that you have to put your time in. So if I'm going to spend $1 in sponsoring an organization, I definitely want to also put my time behind it and my talent. And so I challenge my team, and from the banking standpoint, we challenge our employees that if we're putting dollars into an organization, be involved and be passionate.
That's awesome. And obviously you've shown that passion in the time that you've been involved, and will be even more investing of your time and your your talent.
But I get to work with great people like you.
Oh, that's great. That's definitely. Absolutely. All right. We're going to go back to Lindsey and talk a little bit about 2021 and your success as a chair in the last 12 months. We have had many accomplishments and challenges, of course, with lots of things going on with COVID, and certainly with hospital, being involved with that, you've had double duty in that regard. The chamber really focused during your year on reimagining, redesigning, and reemerging from COVID, the pandemic. And I want to ask you, how do you think that this year embodied that theme of reimagining what we were and redesigning how we operated? And how do you think we can continue progressing?
Well, I think from its simplest form, it was mid-year that we just made the decision to see each other in person. Yeah. And that was something we would never would have thought to be that unique. But we had to figure out a way to reimagine what the chamber would look like with the pandemic past us, and how would we do things in a safe way? How would we bring everyone back in a way that they were comfortable? And so I would say it started out with such a simple action as how did we move back into lives as we imagined them before the pandemic? We also, with that, had to redesign quite a few events and things that we did. And we for years had a gala that we lived and died by that gala. And all of a sudden that had to look really different. And what ended up was we had our summer soiree at the amphitheater, and it was amazing. It was different. It was fun. And, Kali, you and I had a conversation yesterday where I challenged us in future years not to get stuck in we just have always done it that way because we were forced to do something different. And we did it, and it was so much better because we challenged and innovated in that moment. Some major highlights. We achieved 5-star accreditation this year, and I can't commend you and the staff for all the hard work that went around that. And then last but not least, the move to 10,000 Avalon that will take place early in the new year. That was something for years we knew was coming our way. We needed to think differently. And as the chamber continues to grow, and as the chamber continues to prosper throughout this area, it's important that we set ourselves up for that growth. So reimagining and reemerging and redesigning, maybe in the moment I didn't think about how much we did until I was reflecting on that yesterday, that from little things like just seeing everybody in person to a whole new location and becoming an accredited chamber, we really took ourselves to another level that as it passes over to James, positions us for future success.
And I think one of the things you brought to the table early on, Lindsey, not even your year as chair, but being on the executive committee and as chair-elect, is focusing on us as a regional chamber and really behaving and acting in that way. And I think that having that guidance and being able then to relate it to the time that we were in the pandemic really helped us a lot as well. I've got to ask you what your favorite thing or what you're most proud of in the last year, because as you mentioned, there were a lot of things, and that's great. So I'll let you think on that and we can come back to it. Absolutely. There have been a lot of different experiences that you had in 2021. So it may be a little unfair to ask you for your favorite, but I'll come back and we'll come back to that. James, so no pressure. Lindsey just went through like a laundry list of her great successes this year. And we had a great year of recovery and growth. We had 300 new members. We increased our retention rate by goodness, almost 8 or 9% to 78%. But this year, we've chosen the theme becoming greater. And so in 2022, we're going to focus on the fact that our name actually tells us what we're supposed to do. We're the Greater North Fulton Chamber. So let's become greater. What do you think is most important in the vision that you have for the coming year?
Well, first I'll digress a little bit. Following someone that has a cape,
yes,
Lindsey, is going to be very tough for me to do. So, it has super before her name. So I have some big shoes to fill. But overall, I think a couple of things that kind of stand out that we want to do well. One, we want to execute on the move to Avalon. That is a big thing for us. It kind of sets us apart, I think, from other chambers in the region. And so making sure we execute on that and leverage that investment. I think we're working on revising our strategic plan. That's going to be key because we're just coming out of a period where things were uncertain and the way we did business before is now changing. So we have to pivot. And we saw that with changing the gala to the soiree, doing some other things. So I think that's a piece of it. We're celebrating our 50th anniversary in January, which is going to be big, January 2023. And so making sure we meet those. But I think the biggest thing is when you talk about greater, you look at the 6 cities, how do we separate ourselves and show that we are the center? We are the source of information, a resource for economic development. So if a company's thinking about relocating to this area, how do we partner with the cities, their economic development officers, to bring all the resources together in one-stop shop to really help those businesses get the information they need so they can make a decision? At the end of the day, whether a business is relocating to Roswell or Alpharetta, their workforce is going to live in Johns Creek, Milton, or Sandy Springs. So we all benefit, when that happens. And so when I say greater, the regional chamber kind of piggybacking on the things we've done, that's really what the vision is. And then workforce development, that's an issue that everyone's facing. How do we help with that also?
Well, and I have to go back because Lindsey mentioned the summer soiree, which was a definite pivot. We were outside at Ameris Amphitheater, and that was great. But James, it was your idea that kind of gave us the push to do something really unique and different. At first, the thought was, let's do it outside. Let's help. Ameris had been shut down, so being able to do it there and get them to open up. But James, you were the one that said, wouldn't it be great if we could involve the restaurants and do a taste of North Fulton? And lo and behold, that's what happened was Summer Soiree and Taste of North Fulton. So how do you feel about that? I mean, that's pretty cool. I feel
great, but hey, I did the easy part. Here's an idea. You guys executed on it. So, I can't take all the credit. You did the hard work. The team did a great job of executing and making sure it went off well. And we're going to do it again next year. So I'm looking forward to it. And again, these are the things we just have to do is look at what does the membership want? And how do we meet the needs of the membership? And
listen to them, right? When they give us feedback. And Lindsey, I still remember you leaving the summer soiree and Taste of North Fulton and your husband saying, this was amazing. I'll come and do this any year. Yeah. So having somebody who's a raving fan of something that's, something we've never done before, I think's, a really great way to find out that you're doing the right things, and to your credit, allowing us the creativity and the freedom to do that. So maybe that was the thing that you're most proud of in your year.
Anytime my husband enjoys any event that he has to go along with me, that's a win for the year. Yeah, absolutely.
It is. I represent that remark. I understand completely, and I agree 100%. All right. Well, we've mentioned the new location at Avalon, but let's talk a little bit about that. We are moving. Yes. So we keep saying early 2022. At this very moment, it's looking like end of February, but we're making a huge move. We've been in our great location, and we've been very happy in our location at North Winds for 15 years. That was a huge upgrade from where the chamber was previously. And so, each iteration of the chamber makes it better. Mm-hmm. And certainly being able to focus on this move and being in what many consider to be sort of the North Star of the region, and certainly a standout in the region. So how do you think this move will impact the future of this chamber?
Sure, you can go first.
James, we'll let you go first this time.
All right. Well, I think number one, when you look at Avalon itself and what it means to the area, so you've got government, you've got private industry, everyone came together for that to get that form. And so it's a beacon of light. And that's kind of what we want to be as a chamber, where we bring all the different groups together to be a beacon and a resource and a central place. So being there makes sense for the chamber, as we are the regional Greater North Fulton Chamber. I think what we'll see there, one of the things, and I'll just speak, 8 years ago, came to the market, working in this market as a market president for my bank. And one of the issues was meeting space to have something small. We will have that now. So I think that will bring in other members and help with our growth. And then the key is also, I think, just being in that location, all the things that are around, those businesses will benefit from having us there. So I think this is a win-win for everyone, and it's a great investment for the chamber, our members, and I think it will go very well. But I'll turn it over to Super Lindsey.
Your cape.
I would just elaborate. James, really said a lot of what I was thinking. We as a regional chamber have a responsibility to support both businesses large and small. And it was really important when we looked at that space, that we made sure we had an opportunity to give our businesses, those as large as a Truist or a Wellstar, all the way down to some that are smaller, like Radio Business X and different businesses like that, an area to utilize the space, have a location, and have the chamber feel like it's home to everyone. And I really feel like a lot of the feedback from the businesses that are part of our chamber and the vision of being a regional chamber that fits both large and small businesses, when you look at how that space is designed, we've really been able to do that. And it'll be exciting for those events that we have that have been really outsized in that space that we have now, being able to prosper and grow and be vibrant in a new space. It's just a huge opportunity for not just existing businesses within the chamber, but those that maybe haven't considered it before and want to consider it. It's just a huge opportunity that space provides us now.
And that's true. We know that we are in a tremendous growth pattern, and we want to continue that. And so we have to increase the space to be able to accommodate it. But a great example this morning, we had our Pro Alliance Leads Generation group. You know, when there are 80 people in the room that we currently have and it's bursting at the seams, it certainly, you know, drives home the fact that we need to be in a new space and we need to be someplace that we can continue to grow and increase leads, right? Because that's what we're all about, is helping to grow business and help them become greater while we're becoming greater. So I think that's a big piece of that. You mentioned obviously with the new location, I think that will help with growth. I think that the kinds of companies that are attracted to that and the opportunities that we have for meeting space will continue that as well. All right, Lindsey, this is your chance to give advice to the new guy.
And for chairman. Circle for
Exactly. That too. All right, Lindsey. So, what advice would you give to James to make sure that he is successful in 2022 and he has the cape next year?
So I would just say James is going to do a great job, and I'm not one bit concerned about how he's going to thrive and to make this chamber greater. We couldn't have a better person taking over this next year. If I had to offer him any advice, I would say, get the calendar early and make sure it's on your calendar. And this year you'll have to include travel time, which
That's right.
Threw me for a loop mid-year.
That's right. Yeah, Zoom became, oh, shoot, I'm supposed to be somewhere else.
Yeah, I actually have to be somewhere.
Right.
The other thing is, and I know he knows this because I did this a lot with him this past year, is, rely on your next chair, your past chair, your treasurer, your board. Everyone's there to support you and to be there for you. And we want to be as supportive of you as you and the rest of the executive board and all of the board and the chamber have been of me. So I would say don't be shy about it, because we're here for you next year.
I'm kind of scared to ask this, but is there anything that you wish you'd known before you started as chair that you were like, oh, shoot, I had no idea that I was going to have to do this? It's a lot of things to attend, for sure.
I think just more public speaking than I originally thought when I was looking at it. And I am not, I have a marketing background. And so, my dad always said he, paid for education for me to read, write, and talk. And talking was the one I did the best. So I wasn't uncomfortable speaking, but it is quite a few events, and it does help to read the script and make sure you know how to say people's names before you get there.
Oh, so that's a really good piece of advice, actually. That's excellent.
There were a few that I struggled with this year.
Mr.
Oh my goodness. Okay, James. Well, no pressure or anything. What motivates you to lead the chamber next year? I mean, that's a big commitment. You said yes to being chair for a whole year, and Lindsey just gave you great advice. But at the end of the day, it's you, man.
Well, Lindsey put a gun to me and said I couldn't. So that was part.
Well,
of it.
That's okay.
But honestly, when you look at commitment, so you look at trying to approve something, be part of something, build something. So think of the pride that people had when they did Avalon, the initial group of people. And so being a leader in the chamber, being involved, we're building something great out here. We're building a chamber that will be a regional chamber. And there's going to be a lot of things we have our hands in that will help with the development of this community. So why not be a part of that? You know, everyone loves when I have grandkids, I want to drive up 400 and say, you know, Grandpa was involved in that decision to build that, or Grandpa was involved when this happened. I was in the room. That's what you want, a legacy. You know, yeah, there's things that you gain from a financial standpoint and things like that as everyone evolves in life. But being part of something to help others, I think that's the biggest part. So being involved in the chamber gives me that opportunity to give back. And that's what I want to do.
Well, that's awesome. And I would say definitely part of that legacy is you all taking a stab on and making that decision, because that's not an easy decision. That's an aspirational move.
Our greatest legacy was hiring Cal.
I thought that was it. Yes.
See,
I thought that was
nice.
I thought that was good.
See,
we were involved in the interviews and everything. So that's been one of the best decisions we made.
See, that's very kind. Merry Christmas to me right there.
Yeah.
All right.
You got to pay me for that later.
I will. I'll look at that. Oh my gosh. Well, James, the other part of that, and Lindsey kind of alluded to this, because there's a lot of moving parts to it, and you have to get it on the calendar so you can be present. But with all the responsibilities that you already take on, how in the heck are you going to manage everything? And
like Lindsey said, put it on the calendar.
Yes.
Ready. I had a good year to see, especially, you know, prior, I've been involved on the executive board and everything. So I've seen the commitment you have to do. So I'm happy to get involved. I've got my schedule ready. So here we go.
Well, and I think it helps that, and you've already mentioned this, you're giving your time and your talent and adding it to where your treasure was going. And so that takes dedication. And so you've already made that commitment. And I think that's what you allude to when you say, you know, Lindsey has her cape. In fact, she did all of the things that you're talking about, and, you know, definitely.
And during a pandemic.
And during a pandemic.
And healthcare.
Yes.
So let's think about that.
Yeah.
And a newborn.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Lindsey, how did you survive the last year?
James is equally as amazing, just in different ways.
So really the thing you're most proud of is you just survived the year.
She
That's
did a
exactly
phenomenal
right.
job.
She did indeed. We're very blessed to have had a legacy, if you will, of great chairmen of the board, all of whom stay involved and are great on our ex officio board members and bring their best advice, which we appreciate very much. But I'm very glad that, Lindsey, you'll be possibly the greatest title in the world. You'll be the immediate past chair. That's got to be the best title
It
ever.
is the best title.
Yes, because you're kind of like, well, ask me if you need anything. But yeah, I think that's wonderful. And James, congratulations on your chairmanship going into 2022. I have truly enjoyed working with Lindsey and certainly with James as well. So it's going to be a really good year. I'm very excited about it. Let's talk about how folks can find you. Lindsey, if they are interested in talking to you about the chamber or about Wellstar, how would they be able to reach you? Wellstar's website or social media?
So you can always find me on LinkedIn. I'm on there. And then, you can email me, which is lindsey.petrini@wellstar.org. Lindsey.petrini@wellstar.org. I'm having trouble saying that.
It is a lot of, yeah.
A lot to kind of go through. But yes, always on LinkedIn, you can find me.
And Wellstar North Fulton Hospital, you can get the website very easily.
Yes.
And James, how about you? How can we reach you?
So LinkedIn also, and then email james.holmes@truist.com.
Very good. Well, I appreciate both of you taking the time to be with me today and rounding out 2021 in this manner. It's always awesome to be able to, this is always my favorite show of the year because we get to say thank you to you, Lindsey, as our chair for 2021 and all the great things that you did and the successes that we had. And also, welcome James. And I guess to some extent you get to challenge him. So that's always fun as well. I want to thank both of you for joining me today and for all of your time, of course, as the leaders of this chamber. And I also want to thank our listeners who've joined us on GNFCC 400 Insider, presented by the Greater North Fulton Chamber. To listen to this show again or to hear any of our previous episodes, please visit GNFCC400insider.com. And to find out more about the Greater North Fulton Chamber, our events, our programs, or any way that you can learn how to join and be part of this growing chamber, you can always always visit GNFCC.com. Until next time, I'm Kali Boatright, and this has been the GNFCC 400 Insider on Business Radio X.